key lesson that management strategists have distilled for businesses is this: you don't succeed by producing exactly the same thing that other people are producing in the same way, just at lower cost. You succeed by establishing your own uniqueness and excellence. Think of the distinctiveness of products like Google's search engine, the iPad, or Harley-Davidson. Think of the distinctive way that Southwest, or Nucor, or even Walmart deliver their products and services. The United States has led the global economy by building on its unique capacities. By building on our distinctive strengths, we can continue to lead in the next century. There's no going back to the past. Technology is accelerating production and mass production, productivity and mass production, to the point where even China has seen manufacturing employment decline by more than 10 million jobs over the most recent decade for which data is available. We are moving towards a knowledge and service economy. Another inescapable truth is that the world is shrinking. Larry referred to baseball. When I worked in Jakarta 30 years ago, I tried to follow the Red Sox. When the Red Sox played on Tuesday night, I learned how they had done on Friday because I needed to wait for the International Herald Tribune to get there. The Wednesday Herald Tribune didn't have the Tuesday night game. The Thursday Herald Tribune did have the Tuesday night game. And the Thursday Herald Tribune was delivered to Jakarta in the early afternoon on Friday. It is a different and smaller world. What does it mean to adapt to this? Just as the American North prospered even as the southern part of the United States caught up, even as we drew strength in the generation after World War II, as Europe and Japan's economies were rebuilt and converged towards our own, we will need to find ways to prosper and benefit as the emerging markets of the world take their place on the global stage. What should our approach be? Some suggest that we have no alternative but to compete with the world on price, even if it means striving to win races to the bottom. They would have workers sacrifice wages, benefits, and bargaining rights to hold on to their jobs. They would slash taxes on businesses, even as their profits rise, in order to lure them to stay in the United States. They would shred social safety nets in the name of self-reliance. Such social Darwinism was bad morality and bad economics in the 19th century, and it is no better in the 21st. Consider this: the flatness of the world notwithstanding, by the far the largest part of the activity Americans engage in and the goods they buy remain quite local. These healthcare and retail services, recreation and education, haircuts and insurance policies, hotels and houses, and I could go on. Moreover, where we compete with other countries, our strength is collective. Few of us can hope to succeed as individuals in a global economy where any particular task or skill can be purchased at very low prices in much of Asia and beyond. Rather, our strength must come from establishing uniqueness, establishing that which is difficult to replicate, that which comes from more collective action. And any idea or machine or even individual capacity can be transplanted. Far harder to transplant, imitate, or emulate are our great institutions, the national laboratories and the national parks and the national highway system, great universities and great cities and great technology clusters, a diverse culture, deep capital markets, and a tremendous capital. Where competition is concerned, the lesson for us as a nation is the same as the lesson for business. Far better to compete by innovating, leading, and building on strength than by standing still and reducing prices. Let me highlight what I see in this regard as the three essential priorities for the years ahead. President Clinton used to say that in a world where ideas can move, capital can move, a nation's distinctive strength lay in its people. Our biggest failing as a nation over the last 50 years has been with respect to education. We were once the envy of the world. Now we struggle to get into the top half of OECD nations. The Duke of Wellington famously observed that the Battle of Waterloo had been won on the playing fields of Eton. And I would suggest that in this less elitist age, the battle for America's future will be won or lost in its public schools. For too long, we have been caught in a sterile debate between those who believe in more accountability and those who see the need for more resources. In truth, no one who has seen the conditions in our urban schools can deny the need for more resources, and no one who believes in incentives can deny the need for more accountability. Through Race to the Top, the administration has sought to reform elementary and secondary education, both by providing resources and increasing accountability. These kinds of efforts will need to be greatly magnified in the future. Even as we strengthen elementary and secondary education, we must also expand higher education opportunities. The U.S. used to lead the world in the share of its young people who became college graduates. It is no longer in the top 10. Worse yet, over the last generation, income gaps in this land of equal opportunity in college attendance have actually widened as a consequence of both issues of affordability and, I would submit, issues of subtle discrimination. To take just one example, I would suggest to you that the least diverse classrooms in America are in the SAT prep schools that help some, but not all students, raise their admissions test scores. This is why the administration has made major new investments to expand educational opportunities. Since taking office, the administration has funded an unprecedented doubling of the Pell Grant program, which will help more than 8 million low-income students attend college, at the same time as winning enactment of the American Opportunity Tax Credit. Pause on this for just a second, because in less tumultuous times, I would suggest to you that the largest increase in federal support for college attendance by students from low and middle income backgrounds would be recognized as a signal and defining achievement. It's a reflection of the magnitude of the issues that we have grappled with over the last several years, that this has not received the attention that it deserves. Education is closely linked with the second major priority for the years ahead: innovation, the other central pillar of economic growth. Here, we have had, for a very long time in the United States, a distinctive ecology that is the reason why we are the leading economy in the world. On the one hand, we have recognized, venerated, and acted on the observation that it is individualists, the Edisons, the Fords, the Gates, the Zuckerbergs, who, with a meekly anti-bureaucratic temperament, and who would not not dream of filing a grant application, who drive an enormous amount of the economy's progress. We have maintained a culture where it is still true today that with all of our financial systems failings, and they are many, we are the only country in the world where you can raise your first $100 million before you buy your first tie, if you have a sufficiently good idea. And that is a great strength of our country. But at the same time as maintaining a culture that supports the entrepreneur, that salutes the rebel, that allows people to establish themselves as major figures in business without even bothering to complete a college degree. At the same time as we have that support for the individual, we also recognize that fundamental innovation and progress will not happen without the public sector playing its essential role. There would be no internet without DARPA, no car industry without highways, no pharmaceutical revolution without the NIH. Maintaining and increasing our American capacity for innovation thus requires both fundamental support for entrepreneurial innovation and for the key foundations of science and technology. That's why we have to make it easier to patent a new idea or innovation. Make it easier for entrepreneurs and small businesses to raise capital. Make it easier for the most promising minds and the most promising entrepreneurs to come to this country from around the world. But we must also take the steps that will not happen without satisfactory public action to invest in energy efficiency and the renewable energy technologies of the future. We are able to maintain what is distinctive about the United States, the simultaneous capacity for strong public actions and for great entrepreneurs to emerge in the years ahead. We will be in a far stronger position to assure our leadership. The third and final thing that we must do is renew the fundamental public compact between the present and the future. Perhaps the most important illusion that permeates much of our economic discourse is the idea that budget deficits as a way of financing government are somehow an alternative to tax increases. It is not so. Deficits are a means of postponing and magnifying ultimately necessary tax increases or spending reductions. They are a tax on our future unless used to finance productive investments. I am not one who sees financial collapse on the imminent horizon. Indeed, I believe that at this point, the risks of deflation or stagnation in the United States exceed the risks of uncontrolled growth or high inflation. But unless we change our course, we are at risk of a profound demoralization with respect to government. At one level, this means a decay of essential public functions and a loss of our national self-confidence.